In this lesson, we are going to be talking about exponents, roots, and powers of 10. All right, so we're going to be simplifying expressions that contain exponents. So let's do some terminology first. That this is called 5 to the third power, or 5 cubed. The 5 refers to the base, and the 3 refers to your exponent. All right, so just a quick, what does 5 to the third mean? It means how many of your base are multiplied together. So exponents are a shortcut for multiplication, repeated multiplication. So it is, it means 5 times 5 times 5. Okay, so it's just that same number multiplied 3 times together. Okay, so it's a shortcut of writing it. All right, so let's go over a couple different kinds of problems associated with this. So we're going to be finding the square of numbers and then finding the square roots. Okay, so a square of a number looks like that, something being squared. And then a square root is the opposite of that. That's what your square root symbol looks like. So if we're going to find the square of 7, that means we're doing the square of 7. So 7 squared, we're actually finding it, means we're doing 7 times 7, which is 49. And then calculator-wise, just to make sure you're familiar with how to put that into a calculator, that 7 squared on your calculator is, there's 2 ways to do that. We're going to take 7, and then this button right here refers to an exponent button. So it's like a raised 2, and then you just put in the number 2. And then that is 7 squared. So it even looks like an exponent on it. And that gets you an answer. Now there is a little bit of a quicker way, and it only works for squares. Any other power, you have to do exactly what we just did. But there is a 7, and then that button right there is something squared. So you'll see it just kind of shortcuts it a little bit. 1 less button, and you get the same answer. Okay, so if you're looking to find the square of 3.2, 3.2 squared is 3.2 times 3.2 is kind of the long way to write it out, but that's the meaning behind it. I would rather take 3.2 and then do my raised to second power, or just press the square button and get an answer. Equals 10.24. All right, so if we're going the other direction, which is what this is, you're looking at what number did you square to get 256? Okay, well, let's not play around with it. There is a square root button on your calculator. Now there are ones I'm sure that people know. Square root of 25 is 5. The square root of 9 is 3, because 3 times 3 is 9. Square root of 25 is 5, because 5 times 5. But 256 is pretty big, so I'm just going to go, now notice I pressed the blue button here second, because I got to go above the x squared, and that's a blue. So I got to go 256. Let the calculator figure it out for me. Okay, so that is 16. All right, and then we're going to find the square root of 12. Now notice how the additional directions on there is find it to the nearest 10th. That's because this is not a perfect square. So this is known as a perfect square because really it's 16 times 16, or 16 squared, is that 256. So we're undoing that process basically. But there is nothing that you can multiply the same 2 numbers multiplied together to get 12. So we'll just square root the 12. Okay, so we got a bunch of numbers. We're going to round, so I'm going to write a couple numbers out. 3.464, and then I'm going to round to the nearest 10th, which is the first decimal place. I need the 6 after it. That's going to dictate whether this is going to bump up to a 5 or stay as a 4. And since it's larger, I'm going to get 3.5. All right. Okay, so next chunk is we're going to use powers of 10 to multiply and divide. So if we are multiplying, both multiplying and dividing is really just kind of moving the decimal. as long as they are multiples of 10. So 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, things like that. But before we jump into that, it says express as a power of 10. So it's really 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. How many 10s multiply together to get this? Now you could sit there and kind of play with the calculator and figure it out. Shortcut is how many zeros. So if you do 10 times 10, it's not a coincidence that you get 100. 2 zeros for 2 10s multiplied together. If you were to do a 10 times 10 times 10, or 10 to the third, that is a 1 with 3 zeros. It's not a coincidence. So here you're looking at 10, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you're looking at 10 to the 7th power. So if you were to take 10 to the 7th power or multiply 7 10s together, you're going to get 10 million. So we're going to multiply this. Shortcut is we are just moving the decimal place 3 places. Okay, so we're going to take 36.2 and we're going to move 1, 2, 3. So our new number is a 362, and then we'll fill it with 2 zeros. Put ourselves a comma. Okay, now could we throw it in the calculator? Of course. If we're going to take a 100-pound of floor cleaner, costs $63. What's the cost of 1 pound? So this is taking 63, and we're going to divide it by 100. All right, that's going to get us a cost per pound. So we need to divide by 100 for a cost per pound. So multiplying is we're making the value larger. So we're bumping your decimal to the right, an arrow where it goes. If you're dividing, you're taking your number and you're making it smaller. So you're moving your decimal as many zeros as you have. So that equals $0.63. So 63 cents per pound. Okay, and remember always, obviously I can just throw that into a calculator and get an answer. Okay, so that was the next section, just kind of multiplying, dealing with some exponents and some kind of multiplying and dividing types of things.